It's time for 2 more miracles in our religion books. One of the most popular ones where Jesus feeds the 5,000 and where he walks on water. So amazing. He is just so powerful. So get your religion books and let's get started in our stories. So we're going to be on page 9, one of my favorite stories. I love this story. And we're going to read it together. Jesus feeds the 5,000. And these little pictures here, that's Jesus. And then this right here, loaves of bread. This right here, of course, are fish. So read along with me. Again, this is much more fun if we get to do this in class. But since we don't, we're here. And then also today, I'm going to post another video. Not of me, but of Beginner's Bible, and what I would show you in class is when Jesus does his miracles. It's a really cute, short video that I want you guys to watch, and it will be fun. I'll post it with this lesson. All right. Jesus had gone out onto the lake in a boat to be by himself for a while, but there were crowds of people who wanted to see Jesus and listen to him teach. Some wanted to ask Jesus to heal them. The crowds heard where Jesus was going, and they walked from the towns to the shore to meet him. When Jesus got to the shore and saw all the people, he had compassion on them. He healed the sick. He spent time with people and talked to them. When evening came, his disciples came to Jesus and said, "There is no food here. Send the people away to the towns to buy food." Jesus looked at the disciples and said, "They don't need to go away. You feed them." The disciples looked at the crowd. I mean, look at all these people. Could you imagine? I know even having a few people over at the house where you have to feed them as an adult is kind of scary. So they're probably thinking like, what do you mean we have to feed them? There's so many people. Okay. The disciples looked at the crowd. There were over 5,000 people there. "We don't have enough," they answered. "We only have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. How can we feed so many?" Jesus took the food from the disciples and had all of the people sit down on the grass. He looked up at heaven and asked his Father to bless the food. Then he broke the loaves of bread and he gave it to the disciples to pass out to the crowd. The disciples kept passing out food and did not run out. Man, I wish I could have seen this. When everyone was satisfied, they collected the leftovers. The disciples filled 12 baskets with leftover food. After this, Jesus told his disciples to get into the boat and go to the other side of the lake. Jesus sent the people home and went up to the mountain by himself to pray. I mean, they were probably like going out of their minds, like, his basket was never empty. Kind of crazy. So you know what that shows us? That no matter what, Jesus will always provide for us. Okay? He provided. Again, he shows us an example of how he will provide for us always. All right, let's turn the page. And look at what it's called. It's called Jesus Provides. All right, so you're going to need a pencil. And what we're going to do, it says Jesus provides for our physical needs. It says Jesus gives us good gifts, and Jesus provides for our spiritual needs. Okay? So out of all of these things, what does God give us that provides for our spiritual needs? Okay? Meaning, how do we learn about Jesus? So we're going to draw a line because he gave us pastors, people to teach us, and teachers, okay? He gave us a church to worship in, okay? And he also gave us baptism. And can you guys find one more? Ooh. He definitely gave us the Bible, okay? And our physical needs. Our physical needs are our needs that we have to live. Okay, we definitely need clothes. Okay, and we definitely need food. Okay, but not just needs and spiritual needs. He gave us gifts. These are called wants. I'm going to put that here. So, for example, Jesus gave us animals that we can have pets. And if you have a pet, you know that pets are awesome, okay? And they love us unconditionally. My dog, even when he gets in trouble, he's excited to see me. And bikes to help us move around, and games. Okay, so God doesn't provide for us spiritually and physically, but he also provides for us with gifts. Okay, so when you're done making sure all of those pictures have a home to sing, go ahead and turn the page. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Jesus walks on water. Now this, I can't even imagine what they were like when they saw Jesus just hopping over onto the water. Okay, so remember, he's been teaching and healing all day. He just fed that huge crowd. Okay, so let's read this together. It says, Jesus had been teaching and healing the crowds that followed him. At the end of the day, he sent his disciples to the boat to cross to the other side of the sea. Remember that at the end of our last story, we read that. People went home, and Jesus went up to the mountain to pray. When he came down from the mountain, he could see the disciples straining to row the boat because the wind was against them. If you've ever been in a boat and you're paddling against the wind, it is so hard to do and you get so tired. Though they pulled at the oars with all their strength, they did not make much progress. Jesus walked out on the rough water. When he got near the boat, it was very early in the morning, before sunrise. The disciples saw Jesus and cried out in fear, "It's a ghost!" I mean, they should know by now. Like, he does cool things, so why wouldn't he be able to walk on water? Jesus spoke to them right away and said, "It's okay. It is I. Do not be afraid." Jesus climbed into the boat with the disciples. As soon as he was in the boat, the wind stopped. I just can't even. The disciples were amazed. How could this be? They wondered. How could he walk on water? How could he calm the wind? The disciples still didn't understand who Jesus was. They have seen so many things that he has done. He has turned water to wine. He has raised a child from the dead. He has healed a paralyzed man. He has done all of these things, and they still couldn't believe that he could do this. Okay, they were probably so amazed. So they're learning still, even though they're seeing this with their own eyes, they're still learning about how powerful Christ is. And, we don't get to see this stuff with our own eyes. We don't get to actually physically see Jesus. So that's why it's so important to have faith. Okay, and remember, I've always told you guys, the best thing that I've ever read is to have faith like a child, like you guys. And that's what makes you guys so strong, is your faith. Okay, and even in the Bible, remember when Jesus was, when the little kids wanted to go see Jesus and the disciples wanted to send them away, and Jesus is like, no, let the children come to me. You want to know why? Because you guys, you might be young, but you guys have the ability to go tell others about Jesus. And you might think, oh, that's what adults do. But no, you guys have the ability to be disciples and tell others about Christ. Okay? So that's a super important job. And Jesus is very specific about how important children are and how they, even though they're young, you guys can do a lot. Okay? So never let anyone tell you you're too young when you're talking about Jesus. Now, you are too young to drive a car, so don't use that argument in that. All right. Jesus walks on water. So we're going to use the words here to put in here. It says, something is missing. You can help. Read the story. Use the words in the boat to fill the blanks. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. So we only use each word once. Okay, Jesus told his disciples to get in the blank and cross the sea. Well, which one of these can you cross the sea in? Of course, a boat. Then Jesus went up the mountain to do what? He wanted to be by himself to pray. The disciples could not row across the sea. The blank was against them. What was blowing? The wind. Jesus came walking to them on water. The disciples saw him. They thought Jesus was a ghost. Jesus said, do blank be afraid. Well, look at our option. Do stop to be afraid, do mazed be afraid, or do not be afraid. He climbed into the boat, and the wind stopped. And your last one was the disciples were amazed. That was pretty simple. Good job. And guess what? You are finished. Let's read the Bible words. For by Jesus all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible. All things were created through him and for him. Colossians 1:16. What a great Bible verse. All right, so we are finished with our religion for the year, even though we have some blank pages. When you get your religion book back, you can do that over the summer, but you need to make sure this is turned in so I can give you credit for all 12 pages that you guys did. I'm so proud of you and working from home and doing all this. So make sure this goes into a pile that's going to be turned in. And again, I'm going to go ahead and post another video on Beginner's Bible, Jesus' Miracles.